On the show today, drama at Mississippi Thunder, Kyle Larson bags his first sprint car win of 2023, and we'll wonder if Tyler Erb is ever going to learn. Let's go. It's Friday, May 5th. I'm Justin Fiedler. This is Dirt Tracker Daily. It was a busy night last night, and there is no lack of things to talk about between Atomic and Mississippi Thunder. We had drama on the track, we had it off the track, and even on social media. And we'll start there and with the Lucas Oil Late Model Dirt Series. The droop rule in dirt late model racing continues to be a contentious issue for some, and some seem to kind of handle the way things play out better than others. If you aren't aware, the droop rule was instituted to keep rear deck heights under control for dirt late models. Things are measured with the car jacked up, and we've talked about it plenty here on the show. There's examples of how it's measured and where it's measured other places on YouTube as well. Some racers say the process lacks consistency, which makes sense on some level because it can be difficult at dirt tracks to find a level surface to make measurements. But if this problem were really as big as some want you to think, I feel like more guys would be failing on a nightly basis, but most seem to have figured it out and figured out how to pass it. And because nobody ever cheats in dirt racing, drivers and crews are always stunned when they're busted. Last night's most vocal victim was the guy who seems like he's never going to learn, Tyler Erb. He won the second heat but was docked to 5th afterwards for failing the droop check and had to make the feature through the night's B main. At some point before the feature, he took to Twitter to voice his displeasure. If you're listening to this or watching with maybe kids nearby, this might be a good time to turn the volume down a little bit because there is some choice language ahead. I'll fix the tweet for him here because he wrote the word rhythm instead of rhyme, but he posted, quote, droop rhymes with poop and schwally rhymes with suck my balls. If you don't know who Schwally is, he's referring to Lucas Series director Rick Schwally. Certainly not the path I would have taken, or probably most rational adults, but hey, turbo gonna turbo. Just a little bit ago, as I write this, Erb added to the conversation with another tweet explaining that his car produced 3 different measurements during the check. He was supposedly told they were good and then later informed they failed. Apparently words were said, but I don't think that needs to be said here. And we assume that he had words, especially with what he said on Twitter. This second tweet feels like what he should have probably said last night if he found it necessary to say something publicly, but those World Racing Group directed anger management classes must be wearing off at this point. He ended up 6th on a night after starting 17th. Out front, the early part of the feature was a back and forth between front row starters Hudson O'Neal and Jonathan Davenport, with JD eventually settling into the lead. Past halfway, O'Neal tracked down the 49 in traffic and then held off Brandon Overton over the final few laps to score his 3rd straight Lucas win. Rocket definitely rolling right now after a slow start. It was also the 2nd time in 3 years that O'Neal won a Lucas show at Atomic. Overton and Marlar completed the night's podium. Marlar with Lucas instead of going to Mississippi Thunder like we thought was going to happen. Kyle Larson went 14th to 4th on the night, and JD faded to 5th. Points later, Ricky Thornton Jr. tangled with Mike Marlar on lap 12, ended up 11th after having to drive back through the field. O'Neal has now taken the top spot in the standings, headed to Ponderosa tonight as a result. The standings are going to continue shifting a ton through the weekend with the 2 national tours in conflict, and I think after Florence on Saturday night, we should have a much better picture of that all-important Lucas top 15. Speaking of the Outlaws, there was no lack of drama with them either. Split field dual features last night at Mississippi Thunder, and both early leaders would end up out of the mix. In race 1, Jake Tim was on his way to the dominating win, but he tangled with the lap car of David Webster, coming to the checkered flag and ended up in the turn 3 fence. That handed the win to Brandon Shepard, so that's now 2 straight victories for Bishop going back to last week's Mars competition. In feature number 2, we had a dogfight going on for the lead between Brent Larson, Cade Dillard, and Bobby Pierce, but it didn't last long. On lap 15, Larson and Dillard tangled down the backstretch, which sent the B1 into the outside wall. Larson was upset after the race at Dillard, but it sure looked to me like Larson did it to himself. Dillard had the high side at a 2 and was basically to Larson's door when the B1 just drifted up the racetrack. You can actually see Dillard kind of pile on the brakes to avoid the collision. It's a bad deal for Larson, but it's tough to blame Dillard for that. 97 machine got away from Pierce on the restart and drove on to the victory. Dillard just recently switched to a Longhorn chassis, and he's clearly off and running in it. Tonight at Mississippi Thunder, they'll do it all over again, and then Saturday's action will be set up by how everyone did through these first 2 nights. The big show pays $50,000 to the winner. Jumping back to Atomic last night, the All-Stars were also on the property with Lucas. A really nice field of sprint cars. Feature came down to Kyle Larson versus Tyler Courtney. Sunshine started from the pole, led the first 12 laps, but one tiny mistake cost him the win. He got held up just a little bit by the lapper Blake Hahn, broke his momentum, and that was all Larson needed. Young Money took control on lap 13 and drove away to his first sprint car win of 2023. Sunshine settled for second with Rico Abreu in third. Zeb Wise would have left the night as the All-Star points leader, but a flat tire on the final lap ruined his top 5 run. He's now back to 4th, chasing Brent Marks, Sunshine, and Parker Price Miller going to Jacksonville next week. Looking towards today and tomorrow, a lot of these same guys will head to Eldora to race with the Outlaws for the Let's Race 2 weekend. David Gravel, Marks, Rico were Outlaw winners at Eldora a year ago. Carson Macedo enters as the points leader by 12 over Brad Sweet. The Outlaws will be joined on the card by the USAC National Sprint Cars. Justin Grant is atop the standings right now on that side with CJ Leary and Emerson Axum trailing. There may be a couple of guys that are going to try double duty. We know Brady Bacon is bringing both his USAC non-wing car and his wing car. He's just coming off that Hobstadt win with the Outlaws just last week as well. So we'll see if anybody else is in the mix there. We know Justin Grant's been in some wing stuff lately as well. So we'll just have to see how that plays out. But should be a great 2 nights of racing for those 2 series. Looking around the rest of the country, no lack of options for races to check out. Besides the stuff we've already talked about, you've got the Spring Nationals and Comp Cam's Late Models Racing. You got the Super Dirt Car Series, Big Block Modifieds. They're at Orange County Fair Speedway on Sunday. And then ARC 410 Sprint Cars are headed for Silver Dollar. We'll see if Matt Williamson can stay rolling in SDS competition. He's won 5 of the last 7 series races going back to 2022. He hasn't won, though, at Orange County. There's also a ton of other local and regional racing on tap. Drop me a comment, let me know what your dirt racing plans are for the next 3 days. The streaming schedule through the weekend, absolutely packed. If you need help finding something to watch, I've got you covered. Head over to dirttracker.com/watch tonight to browse those daily listings. Huge schedule over the next couple of days. The weather seems like it might be starting to play a little bit nicer, so hopefully we get all of these shows in. But if you want to check all that out, dirttracker.com/watch tonight. Hope you guys have a good weekend out there. Certainly appreciate everybody tuning in. If you haven't yet, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the show. That'll make sure you don't miss any future episodes. And like I said before, subscribing, completely free, will always be free. You don't have to pay for it. So that's just a nice way to make sure you don't miss future episodes, and it helps me out as well. So thanks everybody for doing everything you do, commenting, liking, watching. We'll see you guys right back here on Monday.